Hi, I'm Andrew Lowe's. Welcome to our podcast series. I have with me Ryan McKay from Microsoft Cloud Quick Fix again. Thank you so much for joining me, Ryan.
Yes, thanks for having me, Andrew.
So we both work in Azure and M365, Office 365 environments. Really, we help implement cloud integrated solutions. We do lots of different things kind of within that scope. Sometimes we're troubleshooting, sometimes we're diagnosing, and sometimes we're deploying and integrating. Today, what we want to talk about is kind of the Microsoft Cloud status pages. So it's a little bit of a kind of a time-based, a timely discussion that we wanted to have and we wanted to kind of share with everyone was, October 2020. Why did the lights go out? What happened? Where can we find status pages? And, what do some of the things that we see in here mean? So I'm gonna share up a little window here, and we'll be able to take a little bit of a look at what happens with the status pages and what's actually updating. So in this case, we see here kind of right out of the gate, we're going to hit the nail on the head real quick. And we're going to talk about, we had inability to log in, we had timeouts, and then we also had unhealthy backends as well with the Azure front door problems. So here we talk a little bit about some of the, the kind of the lightweight summary of this very large screened explanation from Microsoft, which is good. They do provide lots of data for us on outages when they have them. But really, they're talking about how it was a Azure Services Network configuration issue that wasn't able to be tested before going to production. And the issue ended up not being caught by the automation checks that are in place. And it did impact live production and routing in Azure and 365 networks on the backbones. So it ended up routing to what they refer to as non-optimal locations. Yeah. So really just slow routing and timeouts was the net result. So what do you think about this, Ryan? Is this human error? Is it system flaw? Why wasn't the code tested in pre-prod, for example? What do we do?
In this particular case, this particular outage got a lot more media exposure simply because the duration of it was longer than most that have occurred in the past. As they talk about or they speak about the root cause explanation on your screen, Microsoft has checks and balances in place, but they specifically allude to the fact that they weren't able to test this particular change before it went to production. And unfortunately, once it went to production, their telemetry wasn't really able to, detect that, the telemetry through machine learning and whatnot that Microsoft is using to detect these issues. So really, I would presume that they were back to sort of the old school sneaker net, ways of diagnosing, like, you and I and several of our listeners and viewers have done in the past. Hence,
Institute for kind of old-fashioned problem solving, and that, the first step is always investigation, right?
Absolutely. And as you're well aware, investigating large-scale impacting issues do take time to properly troubleshoot by humans and whatnot, like you and I. We have not converted to fully autonomous robots who are capable of automating these tasks. Otherwise, we'd be probably doing this podcast in a completely different manner.
It's important to note, though, that Microsoft does use some implementations of AI to help them detect these things. And
absolutely.
Also to update and respond to potential outages and outage issues, right? There's some real world implications for how we use AI, and what a great way to put it into place. So it's going to respond so much faster than you or I could. Heck, I think I was sleeping when that started happening. So, if it was like 3 a.m. or something, I'm not going to detect it too quickly until after that second cup of coffee, let me tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that end as well, they do, in that root cause analysis, they do provide a little bit of documentation to the fact that there was impact detected and the AI did mitigate the impact, but unfortunately, the mitigation was to reroute traffic to some suboptimal areas. So really what that means in a nutshell is, instead of, and I've had this happen to me personally, instead of, for instance, routing, directly to a Canadian, data center or American data center for Microsoft Teams, I've had an impact where it was routing to a Hong Kong data center for Microsoft, which was not optimal for my experience in that case, because we were currently streaming a full HD meeting with 130 participants.
It's going to be somewhat problematic, and I think, as Murphy's Law requires, you're going to have one or more of the executives in the meeting, and typically they're going to be the ones talking who come across quite choppy, and then they express their thoughts on the matter a little bit later on.
Yes, there was a very concerned conversation I had with the CEO after said meeting, but such is what happens in the distributed nature of cloud computing, and specifically the distributed nature of the Microsoft cloud computing.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we chatted about kind of during the course of this week was, this is a little bit more than kind of what it appears on the surface, at least in my mind. So as you know, I always like to kind of sit back and analyze things a little bit, and I like to think about the psychology of things, how they impact and affect us, because really we're humans, we're emotional creatures, and we have to sit down and remember to be logical sometimes. So as part of that effort, when I sat down and thought about this, I thought, what? Microsoft has done what a crazy good job they've done of rolling out rapid deployment of features for how many months? 7, 8 months. They did. I think they made an announcement that we talked about before, which was like they've done 3 years of product evolution in 6 or 7 months.
Yes. Yeah.
And mind-boggling to me. So this I think of as a drop in the bucket. It's a major problem. I'm not going to downplay, production impact is production impact. It needs to be analyzed, and then we prevent it from happening again. And
Absolutely.
Microsoft is dang good at that. So they're all over it. Look at their analysis there. It's, they know what happened. So,
and they provided the root cause to the end users. And really the other thing that's important is, we've lived in challenging times in 2020. I don't think there's anybody who's going to deny that. We are 7 months into an event that has altered our lives, and these technologies, were not available 5-10 years ago. So the technologies that we have that are available to us have certainly allowed business to continue, people to continue communicating, and if there's one or two outages here and there because of that, those are a little bit of growing pains. But we know that Microsoft is working diligently to mitigate as much as possible, because they have a financially backed service level agreement, to provide these services to their customers. Andrew just brought that up on the site here. You can read this on the docs.microsoft.com site, where you can find information about Microsoft service level agreements. They are, of course, financially backed.
They take time seriously, and really, this is about put your money where your mouth is, and Microsoft did. So they said, yes, we're gonna back it, and it is. So if you really feel like you have some kind of a grievance, that there's a violation in the SLA, then absolutely, have a good read, phone Microsoft, or log a ticket from within your 365 tenant or your Azure tenant, and talk to one of the Microsoft support experts, and they'll help you kind of get through that. Ryan and I, we were talking just before this, and actually neither one of us have applied for a credit in our own corporate or personal tenants over all the years we've been doing this. And we kind of likened it to, when your internet goes out at home, you're going to phone your provider and say, hey, I was down for 3 days or something like that. Can I get a credit on my invoice? So I believe it's probably something like that. But we'll have another update another time. We'll try it.
And really, from the service level agreement aspect of it, we're going to kind of take the conversation to the next point. Is for me, and for cloud implementers such as Andrew and myself, we have multiple ways that we're able to find this information when there are incidents. And in this particular case, they're accessing the normal channels to find the information of the incident was not available. So on the screen, Andrew is going to share a few different places that you can use to find information if you suspect that there is an outage going on, or you're having difficulties even getting into the admin portals for both M365 and Azure.
Yeah, so really there's two main stops. We're going to show three different screens for it, but two main stops, really status.azure.com. And as you can see on the screen here now, it kind of self-updates on its own. So if you want to make this part of a dashboard display, embedded HTML, whatnot, go nuts.
This is the first place I would look, anytime I suspect a problem.
Exactly. Those red dots and yellow dots really jump out pretty good, because for the most part, everything stays green. Pretty impressive, really. Now, when we think about 365, email impact is kind of a source of massive amounts of user tickets, for sure. So we want to check on these things really quickly as well. So shockingly, it is status.office365.com. Makes it really easy. So what you see now is, if there was an issue like we did have this past week, and there was an update here, we both were able to see that, and it's like, you know what, you're not going to be able to log in, and if you can, your login is going to take a really, really long time. My friend, go make a coffee while you're waiting. So no, it didn't actually tell us about coffee, of course, but when we click on the link, what it does load is your own tenant's service health dashboard. And you can see this is actually a demo tenant that we have built out. And under Exchange Online, there is 2 active advisories. So it tells us that, one's been here for a little while, but there is a pretty fresh one there as well. It's a couple days old. So they're still mitigating this and its degraded service within this tenant specifically. And it's important to note that, this information took, I think, all of about 30 seconds to log into that portal and take a look at that. So it's something that's easy to do, and we can communicate that to our frontline help desk workers really easy.
Yeah, and to that end, these are advisories. They're, a little lower on the impact scale as opposed to an incident. The incidents is what we actually experienced, this last week. Andrew, if you click on the history, you could probably pull up an incident, a historic incident that they might have there, or you can look at any of the ones that they've had in the past, and they'll usually give you the full sort of chain of events when they say, that the issue is resolved and that telemetry is indicating that statuses are, returning to normal. And again, there's that telemetry AI component of the Microsoft stack that's in the background, really. As in the background as the sentinel, if you will, watching and ensuring that the stuff is there and good to go. Oh, there you go. There's some previous incidents that have occurred in the M365 suite of products.
Indeed. Yeah, it just takes me a minute to click through, but really, you click on history, and this is right here. So I clicked on the totally not obvious can't access M365 services, and brings up the little kind of pop-out blade, and I download the incident report. We can view different histories and things like that. So it's really it's awfully user-friendly. But
it's very handy. It's very handy that they have the capability to download the post-incident report, because, as you as well as I know, there's 2 components. We want to appraise our help desk, let them know, keep them in the loop, as to what's going on and when the incident has been resolved, because these folks are fielding the calls from our clients that may or may not be impacted. But secondly, there's the component of reporting to our leadership, what happened, sort of in a postmortem sort of scenario. So these dashboards are they go without saying how handy they are, for us as cloud implementers to be able to report both to our help desk and to our into our leadership teams.
Absolutely. So, I think, we've kind of covered off most of what we wanted to chat about. And I think the thing I want to emphasize is, yes, there was some challenges this week. There was some issues and there was some outage windows. And as frustrating and difficult as that can be, it's really minor when we think about how the rapid change process has been kind of playing out in our lives.
Absolutely.
You see it refreshes quite automatically.
Yeah.
But these portals make it so easy for us to be able to find that new and updated dashboard information. And on top of that, we also have kind of one of our secret weapons that we use, and we try to share it with other administrators whenever we can, Twitter. So really, just search for Microsoft on Twitter. There is, I think, what I would call a plethora of handles that you can follow.
Yeah.
Many, many handles under Microsoft. So you can be targeted from DevOps all the way through to specific products, which is actually kind of cool because you do get some product tips from the product teams. And I've learned a few things about Excel and OneNote over the last couple of years following those handles. So it's a great resource.
I'll tell you that Microsoft Status Twitter account has saved my my backside a few times as I've been walking or getting off the public transportation, walking into the office. I've kind of known ahead of time, that before I get to my desk, I know that there's going to be a line at my desk because of outages that I've been alerted to ahead of time. So that's been a life-saving capability that's brought to us, for free from Microsoft, so that we as cloud
we don't have to subscribe to it. We don't have to do. You just kind of add the handle that you're following. In the case of 365 support and Azure support, but actually very specifically for me as well, Azure AD. I follow those with alerts on my phone so that it beeps audibly and tells me, hey, something's happening. Because, and I was thinking about this while you were talking, is one of the things I think we're both, actually, I know for a fact, I can speak for both of us here, we're both very grateful that as much as we get to work in fun space, we get to create things, merge them together, integrate, move data around, do fun stuff that we like doing. We also, like every other administrator on the planet, have to step into the water once in a while when it's hot. So, when support incidents happen and it's an outage situation, it is almost always all hands on deck. And that includes the fellas you keep in the back closet to, keep the lights on. So October 2020, why did the lights go out? Well, I think it's part of the evolutionary process with rapid deployment. And it was very minor when we measure it in the long term. It never feels that way on the day it's happening, by gosh. But it's really a drop in the bucket. And I think actually, all the teams did just a bang up job of, first of all, communicating, but also mitigating the problems and fixing them. And I'm proud to be, using those products in Azure and 365. And I'm really proud to be supporting all my users and clients as well. I think we've got a fantastic ecosystem. And if I don't know the answer, typically if I have to call Ryan, usually Ryan will have that answer for me. So I think, it's really great within the, the Microsoft community, because it allows us to lean on each other when we need to. And I guess what I'm saying also, Ryan, is thanks, because, you do provide, not just moral support, but also actual support for me. And it's important, right? It's important that we have others to ask when we need help, and that we know it's okay to raise our hand. That's something I encountered this week. I think, no, it was last week. We need to make sure, when we do have something that's a little outside our reach, it's not a problem to move in that direction. In fact, that's how we all grow as people. But when things kind of go sideways, just raise your hand and ask for some help. And it's nice to know our community within Microsoft has all of this help available to us and references for status about what the heck is actually going on.
And I hope through showing this today that other implementers, other administrators now know where to look for informations. It can be overwhelming when things break. We've all experienced that. But certainly this gives you sort of that landing spot of a few key places that you can go to look, with regard to outages in the Microsoft stack, or incidents within the Microsoft stack. And I hope this, makes someone's life, all of our lives, a little bit easier. And now you know where to look, and you can certainly use this information to make, to provide better information to your help desk and to your leadership teams when these incidents rarely occur.
Absolutely. So access to information, of course, that's the key to success. Say, Ryan, don't you have a blog and a Twitter and some other social media sites where we can find a little bit more information?
Yeah, absolutely. I've created on LinkedIn and on the YouTube. I've created the Microsoft Cloud Quick Fix. If you search for that, you'll find me there. On Twitter, I'm at @MSQF. And then brand new, hot off the press for this particular episode, is I've also signed up for a brand new platform, which is SoundCloud, where you can download this particular podcast and listen to it on the go.
Exactly. Yeah. So and myself, you can find my stuff at AzureTracks.com. And I'm AzureTracks on all of my platforms. I was lucky that way, I think. So on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and SoundCloud as well. AzureTracks, one word. And, like you were saying, Ryan, SoundCloud's a really cool kind of a resource. We're just getting into it. It's not actually new. It's new to us.
Yeah.
As guys that sit in the back cupboard taking care of the servers and all that. They let us out like once a week. We get food, coffee, and showers. And
as long as they give me coffee, nobody dies.
So here we are finding different ways to communicate on social media, of course, instead of making coffee. But nonetheless, so in our endeavor to have kind of a quick bite, I think we've covered lots of information. So thanks everybody for joining us. And if you actually stuck it out to the end, awesome, well done. Thanks very much. And of course, Ryan, thank you for joining me tonight. And it's been fantastic as always. I always learn something when we chat.
Same here, man. Thank you very much. We'll talk next time.